They gave my golden boy brother $150 kelvins for a house, but when I asked for a small loan, they called me a failure. So, I went no contact. 2 years later, my failure project had millions of views online. They found out, they showed up at my launch party. And my brother demanded, "You need." I just said, "I understand, Mom," and I hung up the phone. I didn't cry. I didn't throw my phone against the wall. I didn't scream. I just sat there in the silence of my tiny rental garage, listening to the buzz of the fluorescent light overhead. And I felt nothing. Just this cold, quiet clarity. The kind you get when a fever finally breaks. The final illusion had shattered. I wasn't a daughter. I was a line item. An asset to be dismissed, while the real investment, Christopher, got his $150,000 payout. I opened my laptop. It was an old model, the hinges loose, but it was mine. I'd bought it with my own money from my first big mechanic job. I went to my bank's website. There's something they didn't know, something I had never told them. For the last 2 years, I had been paying the second mortgage on their house. It started during one of my father's temporary financial crises. He'd sworn it was just for 6 months, just to get them over a hump. That was 24 months ago. $1,200 every single month automatically transferred from my account to theirs. I'd been eating instant noodles so they could keep their 4-bedroom house, the same house my failure of a career wasn't good enough for. I found the scheduled payment. There it was. Monthly family support. The name I'd given it made me sick now. My cursor hovered over the cancel button. This is where I'm supposed to feel guilty, right? This is the part where I'm supposed to remember that they're still family. But the truth is, sometimes the word family isn't a bond, it's a cage. We're taught that severing a bloodline is the ultimate sin, that you must endure any amount of pain, any amount of disrespect in the name of loyalty. But I was done. This wasn't a hot, impulsive act of revenge. It was a cold, necessary amputation. It was a form of self-preservation. You can't heal when you're still tied to the thing that's making you sick. This wasn't about abandoning my family. This was about finally refusing to abandon myself. I clicked the mouse. A small box popped up. "Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment?" I clicked confirm. Then I picked up my phone. I opened my message thread with my mother, Jennifer. I typed 10 words. "Payment canceled. Don't contact me again." I hit send. Then I blocked her number. Then I blocked my father, Michael. Then I blocked my brother, Christopher. I turned off my laptop, stood up, and for the first time in 28 years, I could finally breathe. That click was the coldest, most satisfying sound I'd ever heard. You might be thinking, "That's brutal, Emma. How could you just cut off your parents like that over money?" But you have to understand. That click wasn't about the money. It was about the receipts. It was the final tallied cost of being the other child. My whole life I was the black sheep and Christopher was the golden child. He was the one destined for finance, for a big house, for a life that looked good in a Christmas card. I was the one who got dirty, the one who liked welding torches more than weddings, the one who was good with her hands but bad at playing their game. I remembered so clearly sitting in their perfect beige living room 2 years ago. I just landed my first major auto body contract, but my hydraulic lift was failing. I'd worked out a business plan. I just needed a cosigner for a $20,000 business loan. My father, Michael, literally laughed. $20,000, he said, not even looking up from his newspaper. "Emma, that's a lot of money to waste on a hobby." A hobby. I'd been working 60-hour weeks rebuilding engines from scrap, but to him it was a hobby. 6 months later, Christopher got in trouble with some bad stock market bets. He'd lost $25,000. My mother, Jennifer, called me in tears. "Your brother is so distraught, honey. We have to help him. We have to make this go away." And just like that, it was expected. Not asked. Expected. I drained my savings, the money I'd been setting aside for that new lift, to cover the debt of the golden child. I was the family's invisible investor, the silent, uncredited producer of Christopher's success. And you know, the craziest part isn't that they did it. It's that they did it without even thinking. This is the trap of normalized cruelty. When a family dynamic gets this skewed, the injustice becomes routine. The favoritism becomes the air everyone breathes. They weren't trying to be monsters. In their minds, they weren't. They were just supporting the good investment Christopher and taking from the utility account me. It's just what they'd always done. They'd normalized the cruelty of it all, turned their cruelty into a simple household budget. And in that system, I was just a cost they assumed would always pay itself. The silence lasted exactly 12 hours. Then the assault began. It didn't start with an apology, or a question, or even just why. It started with an order. My mother Jennifer sent the first text. "You have created an absolute mess. Your father is devastated. You need to call him and apologize immediately." I read the words over and over. Apologize. Not can we talk, not did we hurt you. Just fix the problem you created by reacting to the problem we created. I didn't respond. An hour later, my father Michael made his move. He went public. He posted on Facebook. I know because my cousin sent me a screenshot. It was a picture of him and Christopher, arms around each other, smiling. The caption read, "It's sad when children forget the sacrifices you made for them. Some people are just ungrateful." Ungrateful. The word burned. The man I'd been secretly paying $1,200 a month to for 2 years was publicly calling me ungrateful. He was already spinning the narrative, painting himself as the victim before anyone even knew the story. It was never about the truth. It was only ever about the image. Then came the final blow from the golden child himself, a text from Christopher. "Hey Emma, you're really overreacting. Are you seriously going to let them lose the house just because your pride is a little hurt?" Mom's crying. "Just grow up and say you're sorry so we can all move on." So we can all move on. That was the line that snapped everything into focus. Their entire strategy was to make me the problem. My reaction was the inconvenience, not their decades of favoritism. My boundaries were the issue, not their complete lack of them. They weren't angry because they'd hurt me. They were angry because their ATM had just declined the transaction. They thought they could bully me, shame me, and gaslight me into submission just like they always had. They thought I'd come crawling back, begging for forgiveness, ready to turn the money back on just to make the yelling stop. I looked at the text from my mother demanding an apology. I looked at the screenshot of my father calling me ungrateful. I looked at my brother calling me petty. And I put my phone on silent. They thought this was an argument. They had no idea it was a declaration of independence. Their attacks didn't break me. They just proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that I had made the right choice. I decided to take that $1,200 a month, my ungrateful tax, and invest it in the only person who'd ever given me a decent return, myself. I'd always had this crazy idea. My work as a mechanic and metal artist was my passion, the hobby my father laughed at. I dreamed of building a mobile studio, a tiny home on wheels, something that was entirely mine, built by my own hands. 2 days later, I found it rusting in a scrapyard outside Austin. It was an old 40-foot school bus, completely gutted windows, shattered, covered in rust and bird droppings. It was perfect. It looked exactly how I felt. The owner wanted $8,000 for it. I paid him in cash from my savings. My boyfriend Jonathan thought I was insane. He's a carpenter, a man who sees the world in clean lines and perfect joints. He looked at the rusted-out shell and just said, "Emma, that thing is a tetanus shot waiting to happen." I know I told him, running my hand over the cold, flaking metal. "We're going to call it the Phoenix Project." He smiled, finally getting it. "Rising from the scrap iron, huh?" Exactly. And that's what we did. But I wasn't just building a house. I was building a case. I set up my phone and I filmed everything. I filmed myself grinding away the rust-welding new supports, cutting into the steel. I filmed Jonathan framing the walls, building custom cabinets with the precision of a surgeon. I filmed the messy parts, the setbacks, the busted knuckles, the nights we worked until 2 a.m. covered in sawdust and grease, too tired to even speak. I posted the videos online. I didn't do it for attention. I did it to keep a record. But a funny thing happened. People started watching. My first video, just me, using a plasma cutter to slice out a window opening, got 1,000 views, then 10,000. Then a video of me welding a custom bike rack onto the back bumper, a piece of art really, with intricate metal swirls. It went viral. A blog picked it up, then another. People weren't just watching a build. They were watching a woman who knew her way around a heavy-duty workshop. My skills, the very things my family dismissed as a hobby, were fascinating to people. Sponsors started reaching out. A solar company offered free panels. A composite decking company sent materials for our rooftop deck. The $70,000 build was suddenly being funded by people who saw value in what I was doing. And then the email came. A design firm from California. They'd seen my welding work on the Phoenix build. They wanted to commission me to create a custom-built $30,000 mobile pop-up shop for one of their clients. $30,000. The bank my family invested in wouldn't even consider loaning me $20,000. I signed the contract. And I realized the Phoenix project wasn't just a home. It was my resume. It was my proof. And I was just getting started. The success from the Phoenix project was fast and overwhelming. That $30,000 commission led to 2 others. Suddenly, I wasn't just a mechanic with a hobby. I was an in-demand designer and fabricator. The schoolie was becoming a legitimate business. But the most significant call didn't come from a client. It came from a local Austin credit union, a smaller, community-focused bank, the kind of place that prided itself on supporting local businesses. They wanted to talk about my work. I met with the branch manager, a man named David. He had my Instagram feed pulled up on his monitor when I walked in. "This is incredible work, Emma," he said, genuinely impressed. "Your engagement numbers are off the charts. We're looking to partner with local creators, and frankly, you're the most interesting entrepreneur we've seen in this city all year." We talked for an hour. He loved my business plan. He loved my projections. Then he frowned, looking at his screen. "I was looking over your business profile before you came in," he said. "I saw you applied for a small business loan about 2 years ago, $20,000 at big bank name. It says it was rejected." "Yeah," I said, the old sting returning. "They said I was too high risk. Not enough collateral, not enough proven income. It was demoralizing." David looked confused. "That's odd. Based on the credit profile I'm seeing here, that should have been an easy approval even back then. Your numbers were solid." He started typing, his curiosity clearly piqued. "We share some regional data. I just want to see." "Huh. What is it?" "Well, this is interesting. It looks like your father Michael and your brother Christopher opened a major investment portfolio with that same bank, right around the time your loan was denied." A cold feeling, sharp and metallic, crept up my spine. "What kind of portfolio?" David kept clicking, reading from his screen. "A big one." "Ah. Here it is. It wasn't just a standard deposit. Your brother's $150,000 investment was a founder's tier buy-in." He turned the monitor to face me. "That level of investment came with perks. It looks like it granted your brother Christopher a seat on the bank's local Small Business Loan Advisory Board." I stared at the words, but my brain couldn't assemble them. Advisory board. David nodded, still oblivious to the bomb he'd just detonated. "Yeah. They're the ones who give the final recommendation on loans under $50,000. Just like yours." He finally looked up at my face, and his professional smile faltered. "Emma, are you okay?" I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just that they gave him the money. It wasn't just that they refused to help me. They had taken their money, their $150,000 gift, and used it to buy my brother a seat at the very table where he could personally, officially stamp rejected on my dreams. It wasn't neglect. It wasn't favoritism. This was complicity. They hadn't just watched me fail, they had actively invested in it. The Phoenix was finally done. We threw a launch party not at my parents' house, but right there on the land Jonathan and I had leased in the hill country. We invited everyone who had helped, the welding suppliers, the solar company, the clients who'd signed on, and the small community of builders and creators who had followed the project online. The atmosphere was incredible. Music was playing, people were touring the schoolie in awe, taking pictures, sharing ideas. It wasn't a party about money or status. It was a celebration of making something. I was in the middle of explaining our rainwater collection system when I saw them. My family. All 3 of them. Michael, Jennifer, and Christopher, standing at the edge of the clearing, completely uninvited. They weren't smiling. They looked like they were at a funeral. Christopher marched right up to me, his face red and tight. "You need to shut this down," he said, his voice low and furious. Excuse me. This entire circus, he spat, gesturing at the party, at the bus, at my life. You're making a fool of the family. You need to take those videos down. Now. My mother, Jennifer, was right behind him, her eyes darting around nervously. Emma, please, she whispered. People are talking. That bank situation. You've humiliated your brother. You've humiliated us. Humiliated, I almost laughed. I was the one who was rejected. I was the one who was lied to. You were supposed to be rejected, Christopher burst out. You're not a businesswoman, Emma, you're a hobbyist. You're making us a laughingstock. He was actually yelling now. The music seemed to fade, and the people closest to us went quiet, turning to look. This was it. The confrontation they'd wanted. But before I could even respond, a woman with a press badge and a microphone pushed her way through the small crowd. Emma Wright. Hi, I'm Sarah, from the Austin Business Journal. We are obsessed with this project. She was beaming, completely oblivious to the family drama imploding next to her. She didn't even look at Christopher. We just have to know, she gushed. Is it true you built this entire masterpiece for under $70,000? Our readers are dying to know how you did it. I looked at my brother's furious, trembling face. I looked at my mother's panicked expression. I looked at my father, silent and defeated in the background. They all stood there frozen, waiting for my response, waiting for the fight. I turned away from them, giving my full, undivided attention to the reporter and her camera. I smiled. Yes, it is, I said, my voice clear and bright. It's amazing what you can build when you finally stop investing in people who are actively investing in your failure. I didn't look back to see their faces. I just walked the reporter over to the Phoenix, leaving my family standing there in the middle of my party, completely invisible. The fallout was fast. My quote, "The investing in your failure" line ended up in the Business Journal. It was the line everyone picked up. The story of the school he built from spite went viral, but this time it had context. The bank, seeing the public relations nightmare unfolding, quietly removed Christopher from their advisory board. His reputation in the Austin finance world was gone. My parents, they couldn't cover the second mortgage. That $1,200 a month I'd been paying, it was the difference between keeping the house and losing it. 2 months after my launch party, the foreclosure notice went up. They lost the house. The end wasn't loud or triumphant. It was just quiet. The final scene, it wasn't me watching their lives burn down. It was me sitting in the driver's seat of the Phoenix, Jonathan beside me. The sun was setting over the Texas Hill Country as we drove away from the city toward the land we'd leased. I was driving my house, my business, my future, a future I built myself literally from the scrap iron they left behind. People talk a lot about revenge. They focus on the past, on tearing down what hurt them. But that's not real justice. That's just balancing a ledger of pain. I learned that true victory isn't about destruction, it's about creation. It's the justice of the sower. My real win wasn't watching their world collapse. It was in sharing my process. It was in every video of me welding, every post about Jonathan's carpentry, every time someone commented, "I didn't know I could do this too." By building my own freedom, I sowed seeds of inspiration, giving thousands of other people the courage to build theirs. That's the ultimate victory. Not focusing on their ending, but creating a new beginning for myself and for others. What's your story? Have you ever had to build your own success from the ashes? Share your story in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please share it with someone else.